11 and my nose bleeds. If you ask me something, then what would it be?
What are you doing?
Isn't it cute? I got a new camera. Look. Do you see it? Do you see the camera?
Follows you?
Do you see it following me?
Oh, wow. Yeah. What are you doing all day at home, huh? Just twiddling your thumbs?
No, that's so mean. It's fine. And then I'm eating this soup that my mom made.
What kind of soup is it?
Sundubu.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Kaya. Bark! Let's make some coffee so that we can get into the zone. I like to mix a little bit of honey into my espresso. So good. I have a bunch of perfumes here because Danam was so kind to send me their discovery set for Memories of Japan. These honestly smell so good. My favorites are Hinoki Meditation, Japanese Whiskey, and Kimono. Let's talk about 2025 planning. I love planning. My parents are really great at asking us since we were kids what we were expecting for the new year. And so this has just felt like a childhood tradition. I've always liked New Year's planning because it felt like an opportunity to start over, to reinvent yourself. That imagination of like, I could be anyone and my life can change exponentially in a year has always been a very exciting and fun concept to me. That thought starts in the beginning of December. This is what my desktop looks like. I played around with the widgets, which is very easy to do. You just right click to edit widgets. And you can just add whatever you'd like. This is how I've customized my desktop. Let's jump into Notion, and this is my main hub for everything that lives within my universe. Starting with my goals, I have a task list of everything that I need to do in the name of the task and their priority, which goes from 0 to 5, 0 meaning that it is the most important thing, and then 5 meaning it's not that important or that time isn't a threat. And then I have my status. It just helps me stay motivated, and I do like incrementally updating my progress. And then I have the category of which it fits into and the date that it's due. Under this area, we're going to wrangle this section in a few minutes. I want to look into my resolutions archive. So I've been tracking my resolutions on Notion since 2021. I like to categorize things into books, career, creative, design, friendship, health, personal, and spiritual, because it just helps me maintain a better view of the important pillars of my life. And I used to name it as nuts because it was like this joke of like everyone's just trying to bust a nut, but then I stopped doing that because I realized I don't find that funny anymore. I love looking into my different categories throughout the year and realizing, oh, I've hit so many goals and I'm so proud of myself. Every year I like to make this pie chart. We're gonna do this together, but this is the one that I made in the beginning of 2024. Again, everything's kind of broken into very similar categories. This is where I felt like I was in the beginning of the year. This year, I neglected writing myself a self-description, and I honestly think that that was kind of what made me feel a little lost or not anchored in certain things this year, because in the previous year, I've always had some form of self-description of who I am, what I care about, what my mission is, and me neglecting that for an entire year was honestly, I think, detrimental. So I'm definitely going to prioritize that for this year. Going back to 2024 goals, let's knock out some of the things that I did. For my creative goals, I really like breaking out into months the projects that I want to work on, because sometimes as an artist and as someone who's just curious about making things and learning things, I think you can get pulled in a lot of directions of things that are interesting and that you want to try. And so having a committed schedule of this month, I promised myself I was going to learn this, and then doing that month by month has really helped me stay focused. So in January, I wanted to play with air dry clay and make magnets. I also wanted to make glasses holders, which I also made, but I didn't document. In February, I said I wanted to do a light study, whether it's playing with air dry clay again or with knitting, it doesn't really matter. I made a knitted lamp. I love lamps. I took a lighting design class when I was at RISD, and that was one of the best classes I've ever taken. I wish I could redo that class over and over again. I love the study of light and how light moves in a space and how it inspires a space. I want to make a lamp every single year, and I'll definitely be bringing another lamp project into my 2025 planning. For March, I wanted to learn how to read a knitting pattern. I bought 2 knitting patterns. The first is the Gossamer Bubbles by Knit Lab. The second one is the Romanesco Jumper Knitting Pattern by Ronti Studio. And I ended up learning how to make this, and I made this project. I'm so proud of myself for forcing myself to learn how to read a knitting pattern, because it just feels like hieroglyphics. Now when I see a knitting pattern, I just have so much more confidence. That's a very self-affirming feeling to have as an artist. In April, I traveled to Zurich and Paris, and so I didn't log any creative goals for myself then. For May, I told myself that I wanted to get into decorative soldering. I haven't soldered since I graduated from design school. I bought all the materials to solder, but I just didn't have time to actually solder anything. I'm going to move this project over into 2025, but I did do intarsia knitting, which is so easy and so fun. I love intarsia knitting. It feels like you're painting a picture with yarn, and so it's so cute and so rewarding to see every single row fill out. I also love the look of pixel art, and so intarsia knitting just feels like you're bringing a pixel art to life with yarn. In June, I ended up moving out of New York City, and I bought a knitting machine, and then I signed up for a pottery class. July, I thought I wanted to do a wire study where I'm making these sculptures out of wire by bending and manipulating them. But I had a lot of work commitments in New York City, so I was traveling a lot in July for a work trip, and I was still hyper fixated on clay. In August, I thought I wanted to do a sculptural study, and you can tell as the months progress that I'm intertwining all of these different studies and disciplines together to build some sort of piece or artwork. In August, I fled to LA, and I was still playing with a lot of clay. I was at the art studio all the time. I just did clay from June to August. My throwing skills had leveled up to a degree that wouldn't have been possible if I didn't commit to 3 months of just clay. I'm okay with the fact that I didn't do this, and also I didn't have like a consistent apartment where I had access to materials, and I couldn't foresee that that was going to be my reality. In September, I actually ended up going to Japan. October was the month that I was reached out by a manufacturing company, so I've been working with the team to come up with a knitting line that will most likely launch in the fall of 2025. And to give you a sneak peek, it's going to be a lot of wearables, but I'm also going to make knitted home goods, so that's going to be really exciting. November and December, I always come back home to my parents' house, which is where I am right now. I always come back for Thanksgiving, and I always come back for Christmas. I love being here to spend time with my family for one, but also just to have like the space and the clarity and the quiet to refocus and realign with the things that are really important to me. I am going to wrangle all of these brain dumps into their proper categories, and I'll show you an overview of my 2025 goals. I'm at the part of my planning where I take the values quiz. It's called Dare to Lead List of Values by Brene Brown. It's a list of 117 values, and then I shortlist it over and over and over again until I can get to a top 10. These values are essentially the North Star of my life, and they actually don't change that much year after year. Like maybe 1 or 2 will change. It just gives me so much clarity in the type of people that I know I'm going to be compatible with. Values feel like such an abstract thing, so I would totally recommend doing this if you have a hard time verbalizing what your values are. I just finished. That didn't take as long as it normally does, but I think it is a good sign that it gets easier and easier every year. My top 10 is beauty, being the best, competence, faith, family, health, humor, safety, self-discipline, and wealth. And then my top 3, if I had to pick, it's competence, faith, and family. Last year it was competence, family, and health. And the year before it was family, honesty, and self-discipline. That is so interesting. I think it's just such a great way to refresh the things that are actually important to you. I then paste all of those values into my relationship categories. I'm going to pixel push more of this into my style. And then let's check in again.
나 그거 먹을래.
지포?
오징어니?
지포?
응, 지포. 그러니까 나 그거 먹을래. 너무 맛있어.
한국 말인데 한국 먹고 들었어.
뭐? 지포?
Good morning, it's the next day. I finished my personal Notion page and I think it looks so freaking good. It's so beautiful. I love doing a refresh of all of my goals because I think it just makes everything look really clean and new. And I think when something's new, it makes me more curious about it. It's just the little things. Now I'm gonna go in and do the same for my monthly team. I am freelancing as a social media strategist. I'm thinking about taking on a larger role potentially. I'm still thinking about the logistics of that. Next year's gonna be a little bit busier for me. I'm starting a few other projects. I do want to refresh this hub. The team and I spent some time last week breaking down our social media content on Instagram and TikTok, and also exploring what potential avenues there are for YouTube. I genuinely think YouTube is going to have a huge year in 2025. Social media changes quite often, and so I just want to be on top of it and make sure that we are ready. If you don't know, My Monthly is a period tracking app for couples. We're launching December 28th, which is right before New Year's, and so we have a lot of goals for 2025. There is a unique struggle when it comes to building any brand's page and hype, I guess you can say. This is a very interesting problem for us to solve. I love doing a social media retro and thinking where we are in our competitor space, because there are a lot of period tracking apps that exist and they all have different social media strategies, and so I love being able to see my thoughts on Notion and then plan accordingly. So let's do that together. I really love having a bird's eye view on all of the events and milestones for the year. And the easiest way for me to do that is through quarters. And every quarter has its own special holiday which deserves its own event. This year for quarter one, we're planning on hosting a Galentine's event where it'll be a friends mixer. Our speed dating event from Halloween was incredibly successful and received so much feedback of folks wanting to come back together but for a more casual event. And then in March, we're going to do a mini golf session. Golf is a very hot sport that's rising in popularity. When it comes to our social media, we want to be very strategic with the hashtags that we use. This might be a little surprising, but as a creator, I actually don't consume a lot of content. So sometimes it's hard for me to keep track of the micro trends that happen and also the relevant hashtags. So I love calling on Notion AI as my second brain. And I want to thank Notion for being the sponsor of today's video. Notion AI is super unique because it can actually connect with Slack and Google Drive. So it references from your relevant work that you look at and that you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. Notion AI is so intelligent that it's able to understand your company's brand and product and then tailor specific responses for this use case with finding hashtags. It automatically bucketed our social media pillars, and I let Notion AI drive the more mundane tasks and making my workflow so efficient so that I can be better at making the creative decisions. Another use case that I really enjoy using the new Notion AI for is with video ideation. The My Monthly team is getting ready to launch our Christmas holiday gift guide. It was amazing that Notion AI was able to understand the context, and I nudged Notion AI to add links to the gifts that it recommended, and it was fantastic. It took out the grunt work of having to find all of these links and to link them into the page. You can get started with Notion for free and unlock the new Notion AI for only $10 a month at this link. I couldn't be happier to work with Notion and to recommend them to you, and I know it'll do you so much good for planning your own intentional life.
나 배 먹을래. 가야.
And I used to think that I wasn't wise enough. He's over more and more.
Sadness wrapped around a frame, would you see yourself? Someone that you used to be before you was buried in responsibility. Though it's hard to see all the things that you could never be. Written in the stars and embroidered in your name, but never was. How it hurts to know. stalks you in your dreams and makes bitter what is sweet. You grind your teeth at night, never ending loop like you're on trial. I know it's hard to see all the things that you could never be. Written in the stars and embroidered in your name, but never was. How it hurts to
Baby, don't break me. I'm living for the highlights, living for my dream. So baby, stay with me. I'm living for the highlights, living for our dream.